Hey everyone, welcome. This is the first ever, I believe, Orderable Town Hall, right, James?
Yeah, that's right.
Nice. If you don't know, my name is Matt Cromwell. I'm the co-founder of Give WP, and I do marketing and operations at Stellar WP, which gives me the privilege of working directly with James Kemp. And you all probably know James, but for the sake of due diligence, James, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm James Kemp. I also work with Stella, and I manage Iconic, where we do WooCommerce products, and also Orderable.
Awesome. And today we are here to talk about a brand new feature to Orderable that's coming up really soon, not here today. But that's why we're here, giving everybody a sneak peek to what we're calling multi-location support. I'm really excited about this. The way that you and the team have been building this out and thinking through everything, I think is really strategic and smart. And I'm excited to show everybody what we got in store. James, what's your take on multi-location in terms of like its use, its value, that kind of thing for folks here?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, I'm super excited to get it out there. We've been working on it for the better part of this year so far, which obviously isn't that long at this point. But yeah, it's been in planning for a while. Um, the benefit of it is right now, if you're using Orderable, chances are you're either using it just for one location, so you've got one brick and mortar store or restaurant or cafe or whatever somewhere. Um, all of the orders that are coming in are going to that restaurant or location, um, which is great. And we've had a few people that have chains, so they've got more than one location. Um, And the way they've kind of been dealing with it right now is to create maybe different shipping methods that indicate which location should be accepting that order. So the premise of us doing multi-location was to just make that process a lot easier and allow businesses that have more than one location to utilize the same back end of WooCommerce and WordPress, the same system for all of their stores. And also make it easy for those store staff to be able to manage orders that are specifically coming in for their stores.
Yeah, excellent. It sounds kind of straightforward, but it's actually a bit more complex when you start to dig into it, right?
There's definitely some complexities, not even just in terms of the functionality, but also transitioning from people having just one store in the global settings over to having one location is something that we need to kind of make sure doesn't cause any issues. So we've been spending a lot of time trying to figure that part of it out as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
And of course, go ahead. We're dealing with WooCommerce too, and dealing with the WordPress admin and trying to support all those types of features there, right?
yeah, that's always something that we've tried to focus on, is making sure the interface that we're using is familiar for people. We don't want to come in with a completely different interface, but also it needs to allow and cater for the functionality that we're adding, which isn't commonplace within WordPress.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, I know that you have some screenshots and whatnot to show us, folks. As you're seeing in the comments here, if you're on Facebook or YouTube or whatnot, feel free to just comment your questions there, and we'll be moderating as we go. And if it's a really excellent question, we might even like show it on the screen and answer it live. So if you're in here and watching, we'd love to see a little bit from you in terms of who you are and how you use Orderable today. Where are you in the world? If you have a website, feel free to post it there as well. We love getting to know more about everybody who's using Orderable. So use that chat. We're paying attention. We'll respond for sure. So James, let's bring it up and see what we got.
Great. So yeah, for context, when we started planning this project, we had our designer basically map out all of the different parts of this feature. Because we've got parts on the back end, we've got parts on the front end, and we wanted to make sure that all of that was cohesive before we started building it. So what we're showing you here is what the designer has put together for those features. So it's important to note that some of the UI may change for release, and we're going to probably enhance that as we get feedback from people using it. But functionality-wise, everything we're going to show is as it will be.
Nice.
So navigating through, the first thing to note about multi-location. So right now, if you're familiar with Orderable, you know that you create your location on the global settings page. So the first thing that's going to be different with multi-location is we're going to have a locations post type, and that will be underneath the Orderable menu. So we're planning to migrate the information that you've got already set up to a location. So that's kind of seamless once you install the update with this feature in. And then having it
That will
within
be
the
like the
section.
default location then?
Yes, yeah, there's going to be a default location,
Yeah.
which is configurable as well. So you can choose which one is your default. And yeah, so if you want to add more locations, you just essentially create a new location and fill in pretty similar details to what you've already done.
Yep.
So let's have a look. So within each location, the first slide there showed that you've obviously got a location name, you've got the address, and then we'll also have the open hours per location. So we're going to keep the open hours available in the global settings, and then per location, you'll have the ability to override them. So you might have, some stores that aren't open on a Wednesday, but most of them are. So you've got that kind of flexibility there to override it.
Nice.
As per usual, all of these timings are based on the overall time zone settings in your WordPress site. Yeah, there's chances that could change in future. We're assuming at the moment that most locations would be in the same time zone. But yeah, it's possible to change that if that becomes, I imagine in America, people might have locations in different time zones.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be launching with the default time zone there. So if you choose to override the open hours, you will be presented with an interface like this, where you can choose which days you're open, the general time frame that you're open on that day, and also the maximum number of orders that you'll accept on any given day of the week. So again, if you're familiar with Orderable, this setting is what you have currently, but obviously it's going to be available per location.
Nice.
So this part of things is where it gets a bit more interesting, and is part of the complexities of adding multi-location. So currently, you can choose which services your store offers, and services being delivery or collection or pickup. So with multi-location, we're bringing in some new features here. So you'll be able to choose still whether you're doing delivery and pickup for each store. And then within that, you'll be able to choose the specific time slots that are available at checkout. So when your customer's checking out, they can choose a day and a time. And hopefully you can see in this screenshot here, there's quite a lot of detail here. But you can choose which day of the week a time slot is assigned to, whether it's like an all-day time slot or specifically, half-hour time slots, for example. And one very cool thing that we're doing here is adding the capability of having delivery zones. So with each location, we felt it was important to have configured within the location the zones that location can deliver to. So we're essentially replicating the WooCommerce shipping zones, but we're doing it per location, which is going to be interesting. And there's some kind of advanced features to that as well, which should be on the next slide. So when you add a delivery zone, at launch, it's likely going to be a postcode, zip code, like you would see in WooCommerce currently. But the plan is that we're going to have, a draw your own zone.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's postcodes and zip codes, which you could have a postcode that goes, way out of what your actual delivery zone would be. So being able to draw the zone gives you that flexibility to really perfect what that zone might look like. And you can have multiple zones per location. So you could have, quite a narrow zone that's free delivery, and you could have a slightly wider zone that costs more to deliver to.
Nice. I actually, this is some of the complexity that I was mentioning before. I really like the way that you all have thought through the different features being supported per location in different ways. And also that whole idea of like drawing your delivery area on a map. That's some pretty advanced functionality overall. I think it's really thoughtful.
Yeah, it's the most flexible way that I think you could define a delivery zone, is to just be able to draw it on a map. Adds for complexities where there's maybe one address that's slightly outside of a normal postcode area. So yeah, that should make it very, very flexible.
Nice. We have some good questions coming through too. We're pinning some questions that we're going to address when we get to those segments. So keep them coming, folks.
So another thing to note with delivery zones is when you add a delivery zone to one location, you'll be able to reference that delivery zone in any other location as well. So this is kind of a way for us to make it so you don't have to enter in the location information, more than once, especially if you're drawing a zone. Once you save these zones, they're stored in a global database that you can then access.
Nice.
So then we come down to the additional options that we have. And they are similar to what you would see in the settings page right now. So you can choose whether you've got a as soon as possible option for delivery and for delivery. And that would be whether you want it enabled for the date. So depending on what kind of store you have, you might want the user to be able to choose, I want it delivered on the earliest date that you have available. And that would pre-select that. Or more common would be on delivery time, which would mean, I'm ordering pizza, for example, and I want it now. So you can toggle that on as well. And the user can still choose a specific time if they want to. One difference here that we're going to have is the lead time. At the moment in the settings, it's all based on days. So if a lead time was 1 day, the first available time slot, depending on your settings, would be tomorrow. But yes, as Dave says here, the other option we're going to have is minutes. and potentially hours. I think minutes was the primary one that we wanted to add. And that would be, if a pizza is going to take an hour to make, then you want to give yourself that time to be able to create the order.
Nice. And did you receive that kind of feedback before? Have you been getting that kind of
Yes.
feedback from customers before? That's what folks have been saying.
Yeah, we've definitely had that feedback before. And it's been possible, like with code snippets, to achieve that, but we wanted to make it much friendlier to do that.
Nice. So, Dave, good news, right? It's
Yeah,
coming.
great news for Dave.
Cool.
Pre-order days, so that's how many days out into the future someone could place an order. So it's kind of like the maximum selectable date. And then we've got a delivery day calculation method. Typically, you would leave this as it is, but it adds flexibility. And it just means these are the days of the week that our calculations are going to use to determine when the next available date is and when the furthest available date is. So that
Nice.
could differ based on, days that your store is open versus days that you're offering delivery, for example.
Excellent.
Here again, we've got holidays, which you already have access to. Functionality-wise, it's much the same, but UI-wise, we're aiming to do a refresh that looks a lot like this.
Yeah.
We're also
I
going to
think
maintain.
I think it's important. I do want to call that out again, that folks understand that multi-location is going to be launched with the current UI, and then afterwards, this new UI is going to be coming. And I really love this new UI. It's really slick, makes things really smooth. So I'm excited for the focused work on that, because that's also going to improve all the other elements of the product as well, right, James?
Yeah, exactly that. We originally were building it out with this UI, and we decided like the UI in itself is its own project. Like there's so many refinements that we want to make to the existing UI that we felt we wanted to give it the time it deserved, whilst also getting multi-location out there for people to use as soon as possible. Because, like I say, functionality wise, it's all the same. This is aesthetic for admins, and just making it a lot cleaner to use.
Yep.
So with holidays, we'll have global holidays that you can set in the main settings, and then you can also have per location holidays that you configure here. And a holiday isn't necessarily a day that the store is closed, but it might be a day, that you're not doing delivery in the afternoon, for example. So that's holidays. Okay, that's the admin aspect of things.
Yeah.
Did we want to take any questions on that now, or do you want to jump on them all
I
at
was
the end?
looking through there is one here, a really interesting one about dashboards. Well, you have a separate dashboard for shop owners, branch managers, kitchen managers, delivery boys, etc. That sounds like a really great feature, but probably a lot larger than just the multi-location idea. What's your take on this request here, James?
Yeah, we're combating that request to a degree. We definitely plan to have like delivery dashboards, so drivers could sign in and see which deliveries they have upcoming, and potentially route that to make it the best route for them to take as well to make those deliveries. That's definitely a future plan. With this release, we will be releasing essentially the live view and order view. You'll be able to filter that by location, and we'll also have different user roles. So you'll be able to say, this user can only view the details for this location. So you could have, your store manager for a specific location log in, and only be able to see the orders that they've had come in for that location.
Nice. That sounds great. Another question that we actually kind of addressed earlier, is it possible to draw an area on the map to make it a delivery zone, but not by postal code?
Yes, that's the plan. Like I say, it'll be released with postcode functionality, and the delivery zone part of it is going to come. The drawing on the map part of it is going to come after.
Yeah. So launch with postal code, and then release after that or so will include drawing on the map too.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting and helpful.
Yeah.
Anonymous Facebook user, it's coming. And then another admin area one, we kind of addressed this a little bit earlier too, I think. Can I set up a lunch menu that's only available at one location, but an all-day menu that's available at both locations?
Yeah, so we've discussed essentially assigning products to specific locations. It won't be in the initial release, but it is something we plan to release shortly after. Yeah, I think it's important to do that, and also somehow manage stock between locations as well. For like product add-ons, you might have run out of pineapple with your, if that's your preference on pizza, which it is mine.
Getting so controversial, James.
I
We're
know you
trying
got
to
to
stay
throw
above
these out
par
there.
here. Gosh.
Bit of pineapple, bit of cheese. So yeah, you might have run out of pineapple at one location, and that would be an add-on, product add-on part of Orderable that you would want to manage to stock independently between locations. So it's definitely on our roadmap. It won't be out with multi-location straight away.
Yeah.
But I would hope, pretty soon after we would be figuring that part of it out.
Yeah. James, also for folks here who might not know, there's a public feedback board for Orderable, right? What's the
Yeah,
URL
so
for that?
if you have Orderable Pro, you can go to my.orderable.com/roadmap. And there you can kind of see what we've got planned in the pipeline, but also vote on ideas and submit new ones if you would like to.
Nice. Excellent. Another admin-like question. Do you have quantity on product add-ons?
Not yet, but I think that would come with what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely see it as an important thing that we want to add, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. And then that one's front end. This is related. We kind of touched on this a little bit. How are multi-location orders to be managed?
Yeah, so right now we've got the live order view, and there's also the WooCommerce orders page. So as I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to filter by location on those pages. And also if you're a user that's assigned to only one location, then you would just see, that page with just your orders listed. Another thing to note is with our custom statuses that we've got, you would be able to configure custom order notifications to go out to different people depending on the location. So for example, a new order comes in, you could send the new order notification to the correct person who manages or works within that store.
Nice.
So yeah, there's going to be that kind of aspect of notifications per location.
Excellent. Last one for backend things. I'm excited to talk about the customer-facing side for sure. And that is, will I'd like to be able to somehow edit the receipt printout layouts, such as font sizes and whatnot. My cooks are overlooking the quantities. Oh, cooks.
Yeah, this is a tricky one because the actual layout of those receipts, particularly for the Star Printers plugin, is managed by those plugin authors,
Yeah.
and they're very, very inflexible. Like there's nothing that we can hook into to modify that from when we looked last time, anyway.
Yeah.
It would be great for us to be able to connect with them and make that more flexible.
Yeah.
Particularly as Star are the ones that we recommend most often, and we know that they print out product add-ons as well, which is ideal.
Nice. So, Dave, if you have touch with the Star folks, then send them our way. Cool. Well, let's jump into those front customer-facing features then.
Yeah, so the back-end side of it is obviously primarily for store managers, but there's a front-end experience as well. So your customer is going to land on your website, and there's kind of two pathways. The customer can create their order and then go to the checkout, choose a location at checkout, and place their order. But the other pathway, and the more common pathway, is that you want to know which location they're ordering from before they start making their order. So with that in mind, we're releasing with multi-location this location picker interface. This can be displayed in two ways, primarily, and like the built-in method is a modal, so it's going to overlay on the web page. And there's settings behind this as well, so you can choose it to force the user to enter the postcode or zip code, so they can't proceed through the checkout or the menu until they've entered a location and picked a location. Or you can be a bit more flexible and encourage them to do it, but they don't have to do it right away. So that interface will look like this. This is two states of that interface. The top state is what they would see straight away, and they can start typing in the postcode, or they can choose to use their current location, which I think someone mentioned in the comments. So as closely as possible, we would use their browser to determine what their location is. So yes, it will support the option to prompt the user via browser to set location.
That's really great. I love that.
So they would either do that, they would either type in their postcode or zip code, or they would click the use your location, use your current location button. As you can see in the second state we've got here, this is kind of all automatic. So after they pause for however long, it will start looking for locations based on that postcode. And you would see this sort of display. So the locations would load in below that. And from there, they would be able to choose the specific, whether they want delivery or whether they want pickup. And we've also got timings on these buttons as well. So we would know that the next time slot is in 13 minutes, I think that says. And then the end of that time range would be when that time slot finishes. So we can be fairly accurate with those timings there, which again helps guide the user to making a decision. And that would account for lead times as well that we've spoken about earlier. Yeah, so this isn't distance based at the moment. It would just choose whichever location their postcode falls into, and say, this is the store you should choose. And it would also list the remaining stores. And I think part of the functionality that we're building will allow you to say whether you want them to see the additional stores or you just want to say, this is the store that you can have delivery from, or you can, we don't deliver to you, or you can pick up from here if you want to.
Mm-hmm. Without getting overly technical, how does that? How do they detect the browser's location? Is that like a in-browser feature, or how's that work exactly?
Well, that is a question. I believe it's a built-in browser feature. You see it quite often that you'll get a prompt that says that the browser wants to know your location. So what would happen is they would click
Mm-hmm.
use my current location. Then the browser would show a prompt that says this website wants to know your current location.
Yeah,
And then I don't know the technicalities behind it, but I assume they send back some data about your location based on IP
yeah,
or your browser
yeah,
settings.
yeah. I do use those types of things every once in a while, and I find it really interesting and fascinating how that works. But sometimes I have a VPN running, and then they kind of.
Yeah, yeah, different
I
country.
don't want a delivery in Spain, but
No,
so
no. I mean,
nice.
the premise with Orderable is that most, you're not going to be in a different country to the location,
Totally,
and
absolutely.
we can assume that in most cases,
Yeah,
uh,
this is an
unless you're.
interesting question here too. Will there be a custom trigger option for the location modal that can be applied to an element of my choice, such as like a button, a link? This would be great for restaurant themes.
Yeah, it's interesting to suggest a custom trigger. I don't think we'd plan to add one, but I think it would be fairly straightforward to do that. What we
Hmm.
do have planned, I think, is on the next slide. We're going to have this kind of widget here. So on the left here, you can see two different states of the widget, and then on the right, I've just zoomed in on them, zoomed in on them, basically. So the first state would be when the user hasn't selected a location yet. So they would click this button, and that would present them the modal to choose a location. And the second state we've got here is they have entered their postcode or zip code, and they've selected a location, and they want to edit it. So if they click that button, you'll get the modal again, but it will be pre-filled with your existing choices. So we've definitely got these triggers available, and I would expect that you could use the same, whether it's a data attribute or a class name or something to trigger the modal yourself. Yeah, I don't see that being a problem.
Nice.
And the other kind of widget that we plan to have is the
Yay. I
form
like this.
part of this. So not the whole presentation. That's just how it might look in context.
Hmm.
But you'll be able to embed, a form field so they can start entering their zip code, and then clicking Get Started would open that modal again, pre-fill their zip code, and display the locations that are available based on that. I've just seen another question regarding how those might be rendered.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that up. So with all of the little widgets and also the contents of the modal, we plan to have a shortcode and a block available for both. For all
Excellent.
three.
Nice.
So it should be pretty flexible. Shortcodes more than likely would be used in page builders like Elementor or Divi, that kind of thing that maybe don't utilize blocks. I'm not sure if they do these days, but and the block would be for themes like Cadence, where you can build out your own product pages.
Yep. Absolutely.
So the next part, which we haven't fully settled on yet, is to be able to determine location within the cart that Orderable gives you,
Mm.
so that the side drawer. we're conscious that we don't want to take up too much screen space within the cart, because we've, as well as having cart items, you've also got cross sells that you can put in there. So yeah, we're undecided on this part. We definitely want to do it. It's just how we do it and what flexibility it has when we do it.
What's the undecided part exactly? Like, maybe folks can
Just
tell
how
us
it will
what they
look.
think.
How it will
Oh,
look,
just the way that,
and
yeah.
I guess how it would work. Like if you want to change the location in the cart, we could either bring up the modal again and have that kind of familiar interface, or switch out the contents of that side drawer to be the location picker, which might be quite smooth, especially on mobile.
Yeah. So if folks
So
have
yeah,
strong opinions one way or the other, put it in the comments. Like, how can we support the location picking in this sidebar widget? Essentially, is
yeah,
that's
for
pretty much
sure.
the question? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah, agreed. So that's actually all of the designs that we've got to walk through. And there were some points I added here that I wanted to touch upon, but I think we already did
I think, yeah. Yeah.
throughout that.
Yeah. I
I
think we
think I've
did.
mentioned
So
all of those things.
yeah. We've got a few more questions I want to pull up, though, for sure, that I like. This question is one that every WordPress plugin author gets at some point or another. Like, are you going to work nicely with all my other stuff that I'm doing? There's definitely, in the multi-location sphere, there's a lot of different plugins that help support that. So, what's the plans there?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely aim to work well with every third-party plugin, as much as possible. Prioritizing the ones that we know our customers use. And if they come to us and say it's not quite working with this, then we, of course, aim to fix it. With like competitive features of multi-location, there may be some things that we need to dig into there.
Hmm.
But ultimately, yeah, we try and work with what people are using, and as much as possible. And we're pretty receptive. You'll see from specifically Iconic's reviews on Trustpilot that we spend a lot of time digging into these kind of complexities and making sure that it works for the majority of people.
Absolutely. Cool. I like this question a lot. It's one that I raise often, actually. Anonymous Facebook user says when they first signed up for Orderable, it was not specific to restaurants, but it seems like it's getting a lot more focused on restaurants now. Any plans to look at features that might fit other use cases like equipment rentals and things like that? Flower delivery, things like that.
Yeah, 100%. When we launched Orderable, we had restaurants in mind, and we kind of broadly targeted any local ordering situation. What we decided to do over the last year or so is to really refine our restaurant offering, make that the best that it can be. And then, yes, we do have plans to target, as it were, these additional verticals. And we actually have people that they use Audible now for different things other than restaurants. We've tried to keep as much as possible the terminology within Audible pretty flexible. Like we try not to call it menus. We call it product layouts, not menu. Product add-ons rather than like toppings, for example. So we try and keep it pretty flexible as much as possible, and we do have people using it in different scenarios. But yeah, there are plans to more purposefully demonstrate how it could be used in
Yeah.
these scenarios. For
Nice.
sure.
Cool. Stratos has some strong opinions about what it should come with. So it should come with separated product quantity and a quick out of stock per store or per location feature. What say you, James?
Yes, I see the value in that. Marking something out of stock per store is something that we have discussed.
Mhm.
It's something that we definitely want to look at and are going to aim to get into the initial release.
Nice.
Um,
Excellent.
yeah, we definitely see the purpose and the value of having uh, stock per store. It makes a lot of sense for that to be a thing.
Yep. Cool. Um, there's an option for the side cart. Could the side cart have a tabbed approach that lets you select delivery pickup, leaving the standard cart as is? That's not a bad idea, potentially.
Yeah, that could be good. Yeah, I think that the thing we want to avoid is just having too many things to click.
Hmm. Hmm.
So whatever route we take, we want it to be fairly unobtrusive.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like tabs on the whole because you can get a
Yep.
lot of content in a small amount of space.
Yep. Um, Dave says rewards program. Is that in the works?
It's not in the works. It is on the feature request board.
Mm.
It's something that we bring up quite a lot. Um, yeah, it's definitely something that is vital for this kind of store. For like
Hmm.
a restaurant or just a local store in general, you want your customers to keep coming back. It's something that Matt and I have discussed a few times.
Yep.
So it's on the cards. When I'm not sure
Big features require big planning. So
exactly.
yeah. Is there anything being done in regard to webhooks API for things like updates to location details, hours, etc.? Just to parse that for some other folks, like maybe wanting to be able to developmentally trigger things happening on the site in different ways. From outside the website, or even to send webhooks notifications from Orderable out to other third-party services. I think that's the root of the question there. What's your take there, James?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I want to implement. It's not something we've actively started working on. But Matt, you'll know that discussed one of our next projects was going to be webhooks and APIs for Orderable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, we wanted to get multi-location out first to kind of open up that space a bit more. I would expect that APIs and webhooks would be something we work on this year for sure.
Yeah. It's requested often enough that we definitely want to be able to provide that, but how, and I think the opportunity to provide it with multi-location support is actually even more interesting, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think this last one here, we already answered. Work on adding quantity on add-on products. I think that was already asked, right?
Yeah. I think I mentioned it. Again, it's on our radar. We haven't actively started work on it yet, but it is
Yeah.
something that we want to add to product add-ons.
Yeah. So best case, go over to the My Account /roadmap and keep giving feedback, folks. This is really constructive. And man, I really appreciate all of the questions and the feedback from everybody. James, from the names here, do you recognize some of these customers?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've spoken to a number of them a few times.
Excellent. We love seeing folks who come around and keep asking good questions and are really interested. We got one question that just came in. I didn't read the whole thing. Let's be surprised. Let's find out what happens here. Anonymous Facebook user. Is it possible to let product add-ons have more conditions, more layer? Like we order a combo meal, there may they have many drink can be hold on having a hard time with the grammar, but somehow drink can be ice or hot or I see what they're saying. Yeah, more options for the product add-ons in general. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen this request a couple of times. I think there's probably a feature request on the roadmap somewhere for this. It definitely makes sense. Like, you know, if you select, I can't think of a specific example, but you might select one option which presents you with different options
Mhm.
related to that option that you selected.
Conditionals. Yeah,
Yeah, like
conditionals. Yeah.
conditional based options for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, again, it's something that we've thought about and is on our radar, but we haven't actively developed anything.
Yeah. Most important question everybody always wants to know. Last one. Here it is. When are they going to get it in their hands? Inquiring minds want to know.
That's the question.
Mhm.
The plan at the moment is in March, so next month is the planned release date. I believe that is towards the end of March. So let me just pull up a specific date. We're looking around the 27th, potentially the 20th. That's our target at the moment.
And cardinal rule of development, you never give dates, because then
That's
there's
right.
going to be a
Keep it
crowd of
flexible.
people at the website demanding release. That honestly, that's a great problem to have. I'd
I
love for
know.
that
I
to
hope we
happen.
do. I hope we do.
So,
But yeah,
no,
so
that's it.
that's the plan. Whether we hit that is a different question. But what I will try and do is keep everyone updated in our Facebook group of where we're at if we hit any
Yeah,
roadblocks, for example.
yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I love seeing all the hard work, and everyone, thanks so much for being here. We will keep everyone updated on socials and email and blog and all the above things. Maybe we'll even convince James to get on YouTube again at some point. So
Well, we'll see.
we'll see. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.